Bilirakis for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much. To the panel, for several months now, I've expressed my deep concern regarding reports that the administration participated in multiple acts of gun walking, such as we've seen in, of course, the case of Fast and Furious, allowing firearms to pass into the possession of criminal and other third-party organizations south of our border. I strongly support efforts to disrupt criminal syndicates that traffic firearms, of course, and drugs, and conduct other illicit and illegal activities. However, when those efforts serve to fuel the operations of criminal enterprises through the provision of firearms, they must be stopped. It is extremely troubling that the United States government would willfully allow weapons to be acquired by dangerous criminals and drug trafficking organizations in direct contravention to our strategic and national interests. Can the panel please explain for the committee what efforts your agencies are currently taking to enforce current laws and to ensure that we are not allowing weapons to fall into the hands of Mexican drug cartels and criminal organizations? Please.
Congressman, when I look at drug trafficking and violence go hand in hand, and as we target those cartel representatives that are deployed to the United States, we encounter weapons frequently. We seize those weapons, and we do that continuously throughout operations throughout the country.
Congressman, thank you for the question. From the DHS point of view, obviously we are constantly on the lookout in the southwest border and in the region for weapons that are southbound. We've instituted checks of rail and of cars that far outstrip anything we've done in the past for exactly that reason, and we'll continue to do so.
And finally, if I could add on from our end, Congressman, and that's the external side, what we do on the southern side of the border. We are working to support both training for Mexican law enforcement and military in terms of identification of and how to do investigations of illicit firearms and illegal firearms. And second, we support tying them in to our own electronic tracing systems that we have, whereby we can track through serial numbers and other identifying data a firearm to give the Mexican institutions access to that same system.
Thank you. My next question, the safety of our men and women in uniform remains obviously my top concern, and I'm going to demand that those who are on the front lines of this battle get the training, resources, and support they need to do their job as safely and effectively as possible. We must act decisively to gain operational control of the border. To do anything less would be a disservice to our border personnel and leave the door open through which criminals, drug smugglers, human traffickers, and terrorists can destroy the fabric of our society. While the Merida Initiative involves bolstering the effectiveness, accountability, and professionalism of Mexican police at the federal level, corruption among local police forces is consistently cited as one of the key reasons as to why the drug cartels are able to continue exporting their product to the United States. Whether they turn a blind eye or actively work for the cartels, corrupt police officers enable the drug gangs to remain a national as opposed to a regional threat. My question is on this matter is twofold. How does the Merida Initiative address the issue of corruption among local police officers? If Merida does not address this issue, what plan of action would you recommend to this committee to counter the crippling influence of corrupt police officers, corrupt police forces, on what the initiative is trying to accomplish? Question for the panel.
Let me start, Congressman. And I'll start by the last sentence that I offered in my oral statement, and that is, it took us many years to get into this situation. It's going to take us some years to get out, and corruption clearly falls in that category. What are we doing right now? First, we are attempting to professionalize, first, the federal police forces, and increasingly in the future, the state and local police forces, because a professional law enforcement institution is less likely to be corrupt than a non-professional one. Second, we are supporting the development of internal investigatory capability, the equivalent of an IAD in a U.S. Municipal or state or federal police institution, individuals within the police force whose job is to monitor, investigate, and, if necessary, sanction corrupt members of the institution. Third, we are trying to work to ensure that they have salaries that you can actually live on. If your salary is $15 a month, it is highly likely that you will try to supplement that through external income. If your salary is $1,000 a month, it's at least $985 less likely per month that you will try to supplement it. And finally, we are working with the Attorney General's Office of Mexico and will increasingly work with the state attorneys general to ensure prosecution, public prosecution that becomes visible to everyone in the community of corrupt officials and officers, that thereby sends a signal that corruption will not be tolerated.
But how much progress have we made in this area, though?
I would say it depends upon where you are and what the institution is that you're dealing with. But I will talk about the one that I believe has seen the greatest progress in this regard, and that is the Federal Police of the SSP, an institution that before the Merida Initiative totaled about 6,000, is now nearly 40,000, and my own personal opinion is that that is an institution that is much more highly regarded for its professionalism and, by the same token, its relative honesty than it was 4 or 5 years ago. If we could get to that level in the 32 state and hundreds of municipal institutions, I would suggest to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that we'd made some real serious progress.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I'd now like to recognize